Hi everybody, welcome back. Good afternoon everybody, and this is Burke Lyle Sports Talk. And I am here to talk about, so I want to bring up Chase Young again. So again, I've been reading mock drafts for weeks and weeks, if not months now. And the number 2 pick, it seems like to be, is coming, it looks like Chase Young is going to the Washington Redskins. In just a minute, I will talk from multiple articles about from Bleacher Report and from ESPN on Chase Young. So, Chase Young going to Washington, I think that's the most likely scenario right now. And again, the talk around that number 2 pick, since number 1, obviously it's going to be Joe Burrow. I've not seen anything otherwise. Maybe I've seen Tua a time or two. I've not seen really Tua at number 2 to Washington. So again, I'll bring around. Really want to go since it's the biggest story. So this story is kind of a big Washington D.C. sports story. Obviously, biggest one in town right now. Would have been one of the biggest anyways, if you had Nationals and Capitals. And this is also a big NFL story too. And this might affect the team that I talked about in my last video as well, the Jaguars. So this is what Chase Young said. And again, this is from Bleacher Report. And and you can read about this in other news outlets at all. Just Google Chase Young. So this is a quote from Chase Young. So he would be honored to play for the Redskins. Yes, Chase Young, it seems like he would be very glad to play for the Redskins. And if they're the number 2 pick, he's going there. Or if not, someone trades him, then I think he's going to go very soon after, whether that's Detroit, whether that's the New York Giants. You need this type of pass rusher since, again, looking at the huge numbers he put up in college, 16.5 sacks last year, despite having a few games without a sack and being suspended for 2 games, just silly NCAA things. Chase Young may be the best pass rusher to come along. I mean, he might be that, Von Miller type who came into the league and dominated, like that type of pass rusher who goes number 2 overall, or maybe a Myles Garrett type, even better than Myles Garrett, who went number 1 overall to Cleveland 3 years ago. I mean, I think he's just that good. And I think he can really change the Washington defense, which was already at times in the last 2 years has been good at times. And they've invested a lot in pass rushing. I mean, think about Ryan Kerrigan's been a steady pass rusher for almost a decade. They have, I think, a good lineman in Matt Ioannidis who got a nice extension. They invested in pass rushing last year of Montez Sweat, their other first-round pick. They have drafted Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen, all of first-round picks in the last 3 or 4 years. So they have invested a lot of energy into their defensive line, into pass rush, stopping the run, stopping the pass. If you bring in Chase Young, I think it gets that much better. I mean, it would be interesting to see where they would rank in run defense and pass rushing if he's anywhere close to the caliber of the player you think he may be over the next few years. And he's coming from an Ohio State system that has produced Nick and Joey Bosa, who have both been dominant in the NFL so far, have certainly shown dominance. And when the Chargers were at their very best, they've both been on Super Bowl contender-type teams. So that's interesting. So now, Chase Young's honored to play for the Redskins, and this is his quote. Quote, it would definitely be an honor to play at home, Young told ABC News Scott Abraham on Thursday. Not a lot of people get the opportunity to play for their hometown football team. God willing, you give me the chance to do it, then, like any other team, I'd go do. I'm going to be the best player I can be. So that's from Chase Young. So again, he's definitely honored to play for the Redskins, his hometown team. And again, not a lot of players get to do that. And he said, whatever happens, will happen. Wherever I go, I will try to do the very best I can, be the best player I can be. So whether he goes to the Giants or goes to the Lions, wherever. So now the question is there any way that, and again, this is just a question to ask, and we'll read more about it as we go on. Is there any way that if the Redskins keep the 2nd pick, they would not take Chase Young? Unlikely. I think that's pretty much the done decision. I think that's very likely to happen, and that's the choice. Unlike other things. Like 5 and 6 keeps flopping around between either Justin Herbert or Tua Tagovailoa. There's kind of a change there, right? That it keeps changing. If we don't know where Tua is going, we don't know where Justin Herbert's going. I think if the Dolphins get Tua, that's their guy. If they get Herbert, that's their guy. I think Tua is better than Herbert, and I think whoever drafts Tua, I think will be making the right decision. But again, that's changing. You think about the receivers, kind of all going, about between 10 and 15, right? Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Jerry Jeudy. That all varies. Some of them are going as high as 10 to as low as 15. I think the biggest spot right there is really the 49ers pick. That'll be interesting to see who they take to add to give Jimmy Garoppolo help on a team that very nearly won the Super Bowl. Okay, so I talked about Chase Young in late February. I did, and I talked about why I think he was going to go to the Redskins. I thought that would be this question. And on the same day, I also talked about Tua, since Mel Kiper at the time really sparked the interest of the talent of Tua going to Washington. I think that's when maybe the Tua to Washington stuff really started to pick up, and that's what was going on. Say, in kind of late February, early March, and that's what I did. And you can see the video on my YouTube channel where I talk about Chase Young and Tua again. So I'm kind of bringing this back, and things have changed since then. So again, he did not think he needed the combine. That's what I was talking about then. He thought that he was the best player in the draft. And what he said is, look, everything's on film. So what you see me do on film, or whatever, or rewatching or recordings of games, that's the type of player I am. I don't need to go to the combine and prove anything. Like, again, sometimes the combine really helps people's stocks. Like, maybe, what is his 40 time? I don't know. How many bench press? How good is he at bench press? I don't know. All these things in the combine. Like, yes, sometimes speed is what really improves a guy's stock. Like, Henry Ruggs ran, I think, a 4.27. Fastest guy, one of the fastest receivers ever. John Ross, I think, ran the fastest 4.2 time ever of anybody. So how did that work out, right? Tom Brady was a terrible athlete at the combine. How did that work out 20 years later, right? So again, this all varies. So he didn't think he needed the combine, so he's good. And again, even when he said that, this didn't do anything to hurt his stock. Again, if you don't have like a Joe Burrow type guy, 3 years ago, if you put a time machine in Chase Young, he's going number 1 to Cleveland 3 years ago. Like, in some years, I think he could be a number 1 overall pick. He really could be. Is he this year? No, he's not. He's going number 2. That's what it seems like. That seems to be the consensus for a very long time. So this is on ESPN's Get Up. Just kind of an interesting question. I don't think it's that necessary. So he said he's looking forward to sacking Lamar Jackson this year. That's the thing he was looking forward to the most this year, sacking Lamar Jackson. So again, the Ravens will play the Redskins this year. So R&R in the DMV area. So whenever that happens, we don't know. The schedule has not been released. They'll be released in about 3 weeks from now. So again, if he could sack Lamar Jackson, that would be great. That would be really, the best player in the NFL, certainly the best quarterback. Sure, that would be a nice accomplishment, sure. So again, based on all the mock drafts, and I just talked about that, all the mock drafts I've read, I skimmed through a few today. I read a lot yesterday or a few days ago. He's going to Washington. That's just the way it is. I mean, you could go from what Mel Kiper, Tom McShay are saying to what... trying to think of where else. Oh, CBS Sports. That's where I read a lot of my mocks. CBS Sports. NFLnetwork.com. Pretty much everybody is saying Chase Young to the Redskins. And again, as I just said, the only other time where I thought it may have been different is when Mel Kiper stirred something up. And again, when people stir something up, it provides something to talk about. Like what I just talked about with Leonard Fournette and trying to get Cam Newton to Jacksonville, saying he wants Cam Newton. That stirs things up, and it starts kind of a rumor, right? And you can start to debate that. Well, again, when Mel Kiper said Tua going to Washington, thinks they should draft Tua since he's the best quarterback in the draft and is way better. Yes, he's a lot better than Dwayne Haskins right now. Yes, he is. I agree. I think he is better than Dwayne Haskins. At least we think he is. That's what everybody thinks right now. Right? Again, in 2000, nobody thought Tom Brady ever be this good, right? So again, the two great quarterbacks this generation, Peyton Manning, number 1 overall pick, hype, getting all the hype like Joe Burrow is getting right now, or what Tua is getting, or what Justin Herbert is getting, to then you go back to Tom Brady, no hype, right? So that's an interesting scenario there. So again, it was just stirred up. It was just a controversy about Tua. And again, do I want Tua? Like, okay. So, all right. So this is what people nationally are saying. So if you are a Redskins fan, and Redskins fans, if you haven't been watching this video, you can give your take. As a Redskins fan, do you want Tua Tagovailoa? So again, it could be, and again, we can talk about this more um, in detail as we kind of scroll through. But as of right now, that's an interesting question to ask. We will get to that. But first, I want to talk about this is an ESPN article from John Keim. So again, as I just talked about, it mentions that it looks like Chase Young is very likely going to the Redskins. And here are some quotes that mention this. So this is a quote from Jack Del Rio, who will be the defensive coordinator for the Redskins, hired under Ron Rivera. So he says, quote, having a guy like Von Miller or a guy like Khalil Mack who are premier pass rushers, they put a lot of pressure on the offense and help the defense. Jack Del Rio said in January, it all starts for us with this is kind of a difficult word, the penetrative, disruptive defensive lineman. Okay, so this is said by Jack Del Rio, who coached Khalil Mack in Oakland. So you think about the two best pass rushers maybe the last 5-10 years. I think it's Von Miller and Khalil Mack to go into the draft. And yes, he coached so coaching Khalil Mack all those years, right? So he's seen great pass rushers, right? And then Von Miller, Super Bowl MVP, helped win a Super Bowl, right? So again, this is from Jack Del Rio, and again, Del Rio coaching these type of guys, I think he'd be great to work with Chase Young. I really think it will work. And again, so this Redskins team having Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio, this is, I think right now this seems like a defensive first type team. You know, they've been gone all in on trying to work with the defense and trying to make the defense really good. And I think again, that's the thing right there. And then this is from offensive assistant, and this is anonymous. Quote, you can't pass up a generational talent that makes everyone else around that front better, said one NFL offensive assistant. So again, another first round pick I forgot to mention was drafted over number 1 overall 2014, Jadeveon Clowney. We thought he was the next great thing. He struggled. I think he struggled with injuries in his first few years in the league, and overall he's been really good. You know, I remember this watching one playoff game. I think what he does is he makes guys like J.J. Watt better. No, he's not a J.J. Watt type player. Again, another great defensive end guy who gets to the quarterback of the last 5-10 years. Okay, Clowney was really good. He had a lot of good moments in Houston. I think he made guys around him better, you know, since maybe made guys like J.J. Watt better or whatever. And then went to Seattle. Didn't put up huge sack numbers, but still, just a disruptive, you know, pass rusher. So again, but Chase Young, we think he'll put up, you know, big sack numbers, right? 100+ sacks in this league. And again, talking about a generational talent. This is something you cannot pass up on. I think the same thing may be with Tua Tagovailoa. Since again, with Tua, right? Still haven't mastered that name. So again, generational talent. So if you pass on Chase Young and you trade down, which is something that I want to bring up in just a moment, and you have somebody else, you draft somebody else, are you going to regret that if he dominates in Detroit or New York? Yes. I think this is a pick you have to make, and I think they will make it. And this is said from Ron Rivera. You've got to be able to sit there and say with the next guy, what I'm going to take is going to be that high impact guy, Rivera said. And that's what I'm looking for. That's what I believe we need. And that's the guy, and we need a guy just to come in and really change our football team. Yes, so this is from what Ron Rivera is saying. And Ron Rivera, his first year in Carolina, was the number 1 overall pick. That organization chose to take Cam Newton right ahead of, say, a Von Miller. So again, he had the opportunity. And then you have Tua Tagovailoa. So again, he had a choice, either to take a really good quarterback or a generational pass rush talent in a Von Miller type player. And right now, kind of has that same decision to make. And this is saying from Ron Rivera, yes, that high impact guy and a guy who could change our football. Yes. So you think about what the team is, right? If you get Chase Young, this could change this culture of this franchise that really for the last, ever since they won the Super Bowl almost 30 years ago, they've been mediocre. At best they've won 10 or 11 games. They've made it to the playoffs just a few times. They have the furthest they've gotten has been the second round, the divisional round. They've lost multiple times. So they've had some good teams. But for the most part, the last decade, really last 10, 12 years, they've not had good teams. And sure, what happened with RG3? Terrible luck. They should have been better. They could have won multiple NFC East titles at the very least with a healthy Robert Griffin. That never really panned out. That's a tragedy. I feel bad for RG3 and for the fan base there. Right? And they have been really, the last 5 years, at best, they've been mediocre. They were very lucky in a very weak year in 2015 to sneak into the playoffs in that East. Right? And last year they came kind of close too, so whatever. So again, the franchise hit their all-time low point really last year, and now there's optimism. And if Chase Young's that guy that can make this defense this much better, really gets to the quarterback, and maybe makes guys like Montez Sweat better. Maybe he gets double-digit sacks too. You're focused on Young. Oh, there's Sweat. Maybe Matt Ioannidis develops into what's better defensive tackles in this league, right? And then maybe guys like Jonathan Allen are really good too, right? So again, maybe you have an elite level run defense, and it makes, say, the defense better, and it really changes that entire defense from a struggling defense to a really good defense. And that's just a start. So again, should they take Chase Young? And again, Ron Rivera, I don't think he's exactly said we're taking Chase Young. But again, we're talking about that guy that can really change the team and can really change that team. I think they have two choices. You have someone like Tua, who again is not ready this year, and again, I think that would distract Dwayne Haskins, who I think they're already somewhat committed to. I don't know if I would say on a scale of 1 to 10 how committed are they, or I would say a 6. I think that would show they're moving on. Again, Tua would miss this year anyways. So if you're talking about literally immediate impact, then this is what you're going for right now. So here's another question. So we heard talks about really why you have to take Chase Young, and Del Rio talked a lot about it, said yes we should. Rivera didn't say they would in his most recent comment, but said that type of player, and I think he's very likely referring to someone like a Chase Young. Okay, so do they trade down? There have been a lot of talks of the Redskins trading down, weeks and weeks and months. Since again, think about the team that are rich in draft picks. You have a team like Miami, who has the 5th, the 18th, and the 26th pick, and they say, and again, they have wanted Tua for a long time. I mean, I think they've been on Tua's radar ever since there was kind of tank for Tua type deal, and they weren't as bad as they thought. They were a team that tried to go 1-15, and it didn't work. I think the Bengals tried to do what they did, and they tried to do what the Bengals did, and it kind of flipped. So again, they had the 5th pick, but from those draft picks, I think the 26th pick, I think one of these picks came from Houston. The other pick, I'm trying to remember where it may have came from. Either way, they have 3 first-round picks. All right. So again, with that 5th pick, since what I've heard a lot is the Lions, I think they're still committed to Matt Stafford. I've not heard Tua to the Lions at all. I think they're getting Okudah from Ohio State. Wow, that's something. 2 defensive players, 2 and 3. And I've heard the Giants, they may either go for a lineman to protect Daniel Jones. They are committed to Daniel Jones. Or they may be going to a Isaiah Simmons, maybe the second best defensive player in this draft. Right? So what this draft is, I think it's very strong in wide receiver talent. It's very strong in defense. You might have 3 defensive players, linebacker, corner, and edge rusher, all taken within 3 out of the first 4 picks. Fairly good quarterback class. You know you have Burrow. You know you have, say, a Tua Tagovailoa with a lot of question marks. And wide receiver and offensive lineman. There could be 3 offensive tackles within the first 10 picks. I mean, you don't know. I think there's a lot of talent in this draft class. I think the 3 strongest areas are defense, receivers, offensive linemen, and I guess skilled defensive players. Maybe quarterback, who knows. So again, you do that pick, and the Dolphins say, we'll give you your entire draft. Okay, but what this means is, number one, so the Redskins are trying to get capital, right? They're trying to get a lot of draft capital, and that's been a talk for a long time. So the Dolphins, if they did that, that would be to get Tua. I don't think they'd get a Chase Young. I think they've wanted Tua for a long time. They have the advantage with that 5th pick. It seems likely that they'll get him. You know, it is their destiny. Question is, do the Chargers want him as well? And if they have that opportunity to get Tua, which I think they've wanted for a very long time, or instead they get Justin Herbert with that 5th pick, then who knows what that is. But again, they have the 2nd pick. I think that's going to be Tua, right? I think anybody that trades for that pick, whether the Chargers decide to do it, or the Dolphins or the Jaguars, whoever trades gets that 2nd pick is going for Tua. So now as the Redskins, you have that 5th pick. Maybe you decide to get the best offensive lineman in the draft. Oh, we need to protect Haskins. Okay. Then you have the 18th pick. Do you maybe go for wide receiver? That's something they do need. Terry McLaurin's really good, but other than that, Trey Quinn, I don't know. You have no tight ends. Tight ends is a big weak spot. So again, I think the defense is fairly good. I think the biggest strength on the team is defensive linemen. And this team has a lot of work in progress. This team was 3-13 last year. There's a lot of work to be done. I think it's going to take a few years for it to get going. I think 2021 will really be that year if everything goes right. I think next year will really be a progress year where maybe they go 7-9. And unlike 7-9 years past, this is a good 7-9 where they're making progress, not kind of stuck in the middle as what they've been for so long. And then 26 pick, whatever you want to do. So draft a receiver. I don't know what you do. So you have those 3 picks. And then Jacksonville, 9 and 20. It's one thing to have 5, 18, and 26, but it's another thing to have the 9th and the 20th pick. So that's 2 first-round picks, okay? And then again, this is a team that doesn't have a second-round pick. So again, you get Chase Young, you don't draft again for a very long time. So if you want to pick 3 times, okay, I get it. But again, 9th pick, who are you getting there? Since maybe you don't get your best lineman. Maybe you don't have whatever that is, right? And then your 20th pick, what do you do there, right? So again, if the Jaguars do, and I talked at length about the Jaguars, if the Jaguars want Tua, okay, that's what they do. So again, if there's any team they're trading with, it would be Miami. I think that would be the only team they would trade with and the only team they'd even want to think about drafting. And when it came to drafting Tua, not going to happen again. I think I saw one mock draft where Tua went to the Redskins. But pretty much, I've seen almost no mock drafts like this. This does not seem like it's going to happen. I think it is very unlikely, if not impossible, that it will happen. It's just so unlikely. They're not going with Tua. It is going to be Chase Young. That's the way that would be. And so 3 teams that they could even think about doing it to. Dolphins, Chargers, maybe Jaguars, who knows who else. Could the Lions potentially do that? Trade, say, we'll give you our third pick for your 2nd, and maybe we'll give you our 2nd this year, and then next year you get our 1st. Could they do that? Probably not. I don't think they will do that. I think that'll be way too much. Since again, their struggles last year. How good is Matt Stafford? I don't know. So again, I'm going to say this right now. Chase Young's going to the Redskins. I'm going to declare that official right now. If I did a mock draft, I would say I'm all in on Chase Young. Whatever Tua talk there was, say, 6 or 7 weeks, so I think that's died down. It's going to be Chase Young. That's who they're going to take. So now the question is, briefly want to talk about the rest of the team. Dwayne Haskins. So again, they brought in Kyle Allen to give Dwayne Haskins competition. So they're not 100% committed to Dwayne Haskins. Where offense goes, again, they haven't gotten much help for Haskins already. They have not done that. They've spent the majority of their free agent money on the defense, at least their biggest signings. So you're hoping things get better this year. And if if Dwayne Haskins struggles the same, and granted, he has never been in a good situation, has never had a good offense around him. Okay? Sure, you have Terry McLaurin, but other than that, who is your offense? Adrian Peterson could break down at any moment. You know, Darius Geis, his injury history, right? What are you going to do there? And how is this going to work out with this organization? So again, because I think this is a critical year to really evaluate Dwayne Haskins, since again, If he has a whole year and doesn't perform well, you say, you know what? Maybe it's Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields. But again, that's a whole year from now. We'll talk about it if it ever comes up. So we'll see. So again, I'm 100% sold, and I don't think I'll have to bring this up again. 6 days before the draft, Chase Young is going to the Redskins, and what they do with the rest of the draft is interesting. And what happens after that, who knows? But again, after reading, talking about all these people from Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, and I think I read some other article about basically everybody in the Big Ten in college football talking about Chase Young. That was very interesting, talking about how good he is and how hard it is to prepare for him. And you can watch again, like with a pitcher or whatever. You could watch hours and hours of tape. But when that 98-mile-per-hour fastball and that 92-mile-per-hour slider is coming in real life, good luck trying to hit it. Same thing with Chase Young. And again, this is a huge decision that this Redskins organization has to make, since again, they have a new culture. The gone are the days of Jay Gruden and Bruce Allen. Those days are gone. This is the present time. This team's building. There's excitement about the Redskins in Washington, and now even ever. There are no Nationals and Capitals playing right now to distract them. And this is what this town is. And I think attendance will be up next year. New coach, Chase Young. This team should be on the rise. They should win more games. Dwayne Haskins should be better. He should play more like he did at the end of the season than what he did when he was first thrown in. And granted, with COVID-19, number one, will there be a season? Number one, what is training camp going to look like? And number two, how is this season going to be played out? So that's another thing. So again, in Dwayne Haskins' defense, I'm going to defend him right now. He has less. He cannot just go out and practice all the time now. Like, he has less preparation time than what he would have had. So this is going to be very hard for him. He has always been a hard situation. When it thought it got easier, it got harder. So again, Chase Young, at about when the second pick is announced, I will hear the name Chase Young is going to the Redskins, and that's it. So again, I'm going to condemn this right now. Chase Young is going to Washington. There are no other options. That's what's going to happen. If he does not, I will be shocked. So that's all the news right now. In terms of other sports news, I don't know what I'll be talking about for a while. I mean, I'll try to play it by ear. But in terms of the sports coming back, I think they're starting to be a positive direction. We're starting to get positive news. So that's all for now. Thank you for listening. Burke Lyle Sports Talk. We'll see you next time.